There we
Here we
go.
go.
Sorry about that
Okay,
earlier.
here.
All right, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to the College of Complexes. My name is Tim. I want to welcome all of you to the college tonight. Um, our the speaker tonight is me. I'm going to be talking about the parallels between what happened before the Civil War and what happened now, and what is it that brings democracy really down. Um, our meeting consists of the following format. First, we'll have a brief announcement session. Then we'll get into our speaker session, which will be me. And then after that, we'll have a question and answer period. And after the question and answer period, we will basically have our rebuttals. We have to be out by 7:30. I mean, we have to finish by 7:45 because the restaurant closes at 8. Again, I welcome all of you tonight to our meeting. So, Charlie, if you want to go ahead with the announcements, I'll get the Zoom recording up right away. I mean, I'll get the thing up right away. So go ahead, Charlie.
Projector, yeah.
Okay, welcome everyone.
Up yet? Oh,
Welcome everyone to meeting number 3,857 of the College of Complexes, the playground for people who think.
I got it.
Now, although I am not a capitalist, I will give an advertisement for our upcoming programs as soon as they come up on the screen.
We're coming, Charlie. Yeah, right in there. Shit. It's coming. Sorry.
You have printouts?
No, I don't. That's why we need the projector up.
Use the case.
Okay, Charlie, go ahead. Hang on. All right, we got the current schedule up, Charlie. Go ahead.
Okay.
You see it?
Yes, scroll up, please. There we go. All right. Beginning in April. Now we're going to be meeting, at least at the present time, the first and third Saturdays of each month. So the next meeting will be April the 4th. And we have an organization which has never presented before to the college, the Political Integrity Project. Now, if you're all concerned about money and politics, this is the program you wish to attend. They offer 3 features to try to correct the influence of money on political decision making. So this is an important program of concern, especially in light of the Supreme Court decision granting unlimited authority to make contributions. Nevertheless, PIP, Political Integrity Project. After that, we skip a week. Scroll up, please. Scroll up. There we go. And on April the 18th, we will feature our special Earth Day presentation. David Odd of the company called Odd Producers. It will be talking about foraging for food, hike instructions on how you can find food. He's from Chicago, in your backyard and lawns and shrubbery and so forth, vacant lots. So this is important. If you want to save on your grocery bill and he was hungry, he didn't have a job, so he started looking around the neighborhood for something to eat, greenery and things like that. He said, oh, there's plenty of food if you just look around your house. So it should be an interesting program. Okay, following that is May 2nd, which is currently open. We usually feature a special May Day speaker, somebody on organized labor or activist issues, maybe something about the war. I'd like to fill the state. So if you'd like to speak at the college, meet that criteria for May Day in some fashion, I'd appreciate hearing from you. I need a title and a short written description. Subsequent to that, the next meeting is May 16th, in which the topic will be AI. We have an expert on artificial intelligence. And she's going to be talking all about in person what we must do regarding AI in order to save humanity. What we need to do in order to save humanity with AI, from AI. Okay, after that, scroll up, please. A little further. And the next program after that is June the 2nd, in which we have a debate. We will have two programs. We have Derek Reed, who's going to be, it says he has undeniable proof of God. And the second presenter will be our own Calvin Elchet. He says he's going to examine the falsehoods concerning religious belief. So it should be an intriguing evening. After that, the next program is June the 20th. We skip a week. And Michael Buback, who's been looking at this issue for several decades. We'll be talking about national health insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, and everything like that. That leaves open dates in July and August. Scroll up, please. We see that he's here tonight. Scroll up to September. And there you see on September the 19th, we'll be talking about September 11th. 25 years later, what information do we have concerning this? Several to any of the conspiracy theories, which are often given to us at the college complex. Anyhow, that's all for tonight. As again, May 2nd is open. If you know someone I should invite, please let me know. Thank you. Take it away.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to the College of Complexes. My name is Tim, and if you're in the corner down there, we're going to have a PowerPoint, so if you want to see it, come on up. Anyway, I'm going to be speaking tonight about parallels between the Civil War, or the lead up to the Civil War, and the lead up to what's going on right now with Trump, and some of the parallels and what can happen and what cannot. All right, we're going to get this started here in a minute. As soon as I get the Zoom thing going here with my share screen, and we'll be all set. So just bear with me again, please. All right. Okay, hang on, please. All right. Can everybody see that on the stuff?
Yes.
Okay, hang on here. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, neighbors, fellow Americans, thank you for being here. Imagine two moments in our history separated by 165 years, yet eerily identical in tone. In one, a senator a senator from Illinois stands in the Senate and warns that a house divided against itself cannot stand. In the other, a president from New York stands before thousands and declares an election stolen, rigged, and a fraud on the American people. Both moments are laced with the same poisonous idea that the other side is not merely wrong, it is illegitimate. Today, I want to ask a single urgent question, every one of you. What can we learn from history? I will not nave you in a comfortable tribe. I will place the moral rot in the 1850s side by side with the Trump era and make a blunt claim. America is not flirting with crisis. It is repeating a pattern that is already known that leads to catastrophe. The American Civil War began the moment Americans demanded democracy was the only legitimate when it delivered the correct form and the correct outcome. The most dangerous lie is decades before cannon fire, the country normalized contempt for compromise, weaponized grievances, and taught itself to believe that defeat was fraud, tyranny, and betrayal. The most dangerous lie in American politics is not that the other side is wrong, but that they are illegitimate. Once a nation accepts that idea, the question is no longer whether a system survives, but how much damage is now done before it breaks down. Let's begin where the rot began. Go back to the 1850s. The United States is not yet a century old, but it is already coming apart. The flashpoint was slavery, yes. The deeper disease was something more insidious. The refusal to accept that democracy could produce an outcome you hated and still remain legitimate. Yes, gentlemen, it all kind of started with what they called the Compromise of 1850. Northerners hated the Fugitive Slave Act. Southerners hated California entering as a free state. Both sides swallowed bitter pills for the sake of union. But swallowing pills is not the same as digesting them. And the resentments festered. Then came the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. Stephen Douglas, a brilliant Illinois Democrat, thought he had found a clever workaround. Popular sovereignty. Let the people in the territories vote on slavery themselves. What could go wrong? Basically everything. Pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers rushed into Kansas with rifles and ballots. Years of guerrilla warfare, ballot box stuffing, and political murder. Newspapers in Boston called Southern settlers border ruffians. Newspapers in Charleston called Northern settlers abolitionist fanatics. Each side stopped seeing the other as fellow citizens. The violence erupts by 1856. A pro-slavery mob sacks Lawrence, Kansas. John Brown retaliates with the Potawatomi massacre. Congress is no better. Charles Sumner is caned unconscious on the Senate floor by Congressman Preston Brooks because Sumner had the audacity to call slavery a crime. Then, of course, we had the infamous Dred Scott decision. Then the Supreme Court weighed in on with Dred Scott in 1857. Chief Justice Taney ruled that Black Americans could not be citizens, and Congress had no power to ban slavery in the territories. Northerners erupted. The court had become a tool of slave power, and Southerners celebrated. The pattern is set. Both sides now question the legitimacy of co-equal branch of government. When a system gives you the wrong answer, the system itself must be correct. The final act opened in 1858 with the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Then in 1858, Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas debated across Illinois. Lincoln said the country could not endure half slave and half free. Douglas said the country could endure anything as long as white men were left alone to decide. The crowds cheered their own man and hissed the other. Then in 1859, John Brown raids Harper's Ferry. He is hanged. Northern churches ring bells in his honor. Southern newspapers call him a terrorist. Each side now openly celebrated violence when it served their cause. Finally, in November 1860, Abraham Lincoln wins the presidency with less than 40% of the popular vote, 0 electoral votes from the Deep South. He did not campaign in the South. The South did not vote for him, yet he won legally, constitutionally, and democratically. When Lincoln was elected, Southern leaders did not say we lost an election. They say the Union has been overthrown. They said this is tyranny. They said we will not submit. South Carolina seceded first, then 10 more states. The brutal truth. Here is the brutal truth history records. The cannons at Fort Sumter were not the beginning. The beginning was the moment Americans taught themselves that losing an election, losing a court case, or losing a legislative fight meant the other side had stolen democracy itself. And again, with Trump, it does not begin with January 6th. It begins years earlier, the same way it began in the 1850s, with the normalization of the idea that our victories count as legitimate. The Trump pattern, the main text is watching the same movie again with different actors, but the same scripts. In 2016, the warnings began. In 2016, during the campaign itself, Donald Trump repeatedly warned that the election was going to be rigged. When he won, many on the left immediately declared his presidency illegitimate. Russian interference, an electoral college fluke. Not my president. Contempt for the outcome was instant. By 2020, the narrative accelerates. President Trump declared the election stolen before, during, and after Election Day. He filed dozens of lawsuits. He pressured state officials. He told supporters, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. 60 courts, including those with judges appointed by Trump, found no evidence of widespread fraud that could alter the election results. Similarly, Trump appointed Attorney General Bill Barr confirmed this. Additionally, the cybersecurity chief under Trump described it as the most secure election in American history. Despite this, the narrative continued. Defeat was equated with fraud, fraud with tyranny, and tyranny with betrayal. On January 6, 2021, that narrative walked up the Capitol steps. A mob, fueled by the belief that the vice president and Congress were about to certify a stolen election, stormed the building. 5 people died. Hundreds were injured. The certification was delayed, but not stopped. The parallel to 1860 is not in the violence alone. It is a refusal to accept the legitimacy of the process. In 1860, the South walked out of the Union. In 2021, a significant minority of Americans walked out of the democratic consensus. Millions still believed the election was stolen. Millions still viewed their fellow citizens who voted the other way, not as neighbors who disagreed, but as participants in a conspiracy. By 1850, their fire eaters, politicians, and newspapers said that compromise was surrender. The Trump its own fire eaters, media personalities, elected officials, and online armies that say the same. Both here was weaponized grievance. In the 1850s, Southerners felt culturally and economically encircled by Northern moralism. In the Trump era, millions of Americans felt culturally and economically inserted by coastal elites, global markets, and cultural change. And the grievance is real. But when grievance becomes the operating system of politics, when it replaces argument with accusations of illegitimacy, history shows where the road ends. Both eras watched institutions lose trust. In the 1850s, it was the Supreme Court and Congress. In our time, it is the same 2 institutions, plus the press, the bureaucracy, and now the electoral system itself. When every branch that disappoints you is declared corrupt, You already begun the work of dismantling the republic. The most chilling similarity is both eras produced leaders and followers who preferred breaking the system to losing inside it. I am not here to litigate 2020 or 2016 or any single election. I am here to say that the underlying idea that democracy is only legitimate when my side wins is the same idea that made the 1850s combustible and the Civil War inevitable. We have heard this warning before, and we ignore it now.
Make it easy. There are instructions on AliExpress that to create a return were completely wrong. I had to figure it out on my own, but it is in your under your profile settings to how to.
Part 3, what history actually teaches us. So what can we learn not from the comfortable cliches of those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. That's bumper sticker wisdom. History's real lesson is harsher and much more precise. The Trump era, the pattern returns. Watch the same movies, different actors, same script. It does not begin with January 6th. It begins years earlier, the same way it began in the 1850s, with the mobilization of the idea that only our victories count as legitimate. 2016, the warnings began. In 2016, during the campaign itself, candidate Donald Trump repeatedly warned that the election was going to be rigged. When he won, many on the left immediately declared his presidency illegitimate. When he won, and Russian interference and electoral college, president contempt for an outcome was instant. On 2020, the narrative accelerates, but the pattern accelerated after the 2020 election. President declared the election stolen before, during, and after election day. He filed dozens of lawsuits. He pressured state officials. He told his supporters, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. The courts rejected his claims. 60 courts, including judges appointed by Trump himself, found no evidence of widespread fraud to change the outcome. The Trump-appointed Attorney General Bill Barr said the same. Trump's own cyber chief called it the most secure election in American history. Yet the narrative persisted. Defeat equals fraud, and fraud equals tyranny. And on January 6th, the narrative became action. The narrative walked up to the Capitol steps. A mob fueled that the vice president and Congress were about to certify a stolen election, stormed the Capitol building. 5 people died. Hundreds were injured. The certification was delayed but not stopped. In his first inaugural address, Abraham Lincoln was already underway. He said, "We must not be enemies but friends. We must not be enemies, though passion may have strained. It must not break our bonds of affection." Lincoln was wrong in the short run. Passion did break those bonds and blood followed. But he was right in the long run. The bonds were eventually reforged through sacrifice, through reconstruction, through generations of vengeance. And it must be done. So the final question is not, what can we learn? It is, what will we do? And here's the hard practical work that we must do to finish this off. We must restore the norm that election results are legitimate unless proven otherwise in court. Every candidate, every party, every citizen must recommit. We accept the outcome. No, stop the steal. No, not my president. No, delegitimizing rhetoric. This is not politeness. It is the oxygen of self-government. Action number 2, we must rehabilitate compromise. We need leaders on both sides who are willing to say publicly what Lincoln said privately. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. This means negotiating in good faith even when your base calls it weakness. And action number 3, teach real history, not partisan mythology. Every high school student in the country should study the 1850s and 1860s, not as a morality play with cartoon villains, but as a cautionary tale of how good people feeling righteous can still destroy their country. Civic education is national security. Action number 4, we must reject illegitimacy rhetoric. Reject the language of illegitimacy. When a politician or commentator says the other party is destroying America or stealing the country, call it out. Regardless of party, the most patriotic thing any of us can do right now is refuse to echo that rhetoric. Action number 5, build local bridges. National politics feels hopeless because it's designed to feel hopeless. But in our towns, schools, churches, and workplaces, we can still talk to people who voted differently. Do it. Not to convert them, but to remember they are not enemies. Action number 6, demand better from our institutions and ourselves. Courts must be above politics. Congress must function. Media must stop feeding outrage. And each of us must stop rewarding the voices that profit from our division. None of this is easy. All of it is necessary. Very, very necessary. The alternative is catastrophe, because the alternative is not politics as usual. The alternative is a road we've already traveled once. And the graves at Gettysburg are still there to remind us where it ends. We stand at another fork. History has handed us the map. We already know where that path leads. The question is whether we have the courage, the humility, and the patriotism to take the other. And let the next chapter begin of American history. Begin that the moment we decide the opposite, that democracy itself is the correct outcome, even when that democracy disappoints us. Lincoln's promise. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. He was right in the short run, right in the long run. The bonds were forged through sacrifice, through Reconstruction, through generations who chose union over vengeance. The Civil War began the moment Americans decided that democracy was only legitimate when it delivered the correct outcome. Let's let democracy be the correct outcome. Let the next chapter of American history begin the moment we decide the opposite. That democracy itself is the correct, even when it disappoints us. Thank you very much. I'm just going to say God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. And now I'm going to take your questions.
Here.
Now I'm going to take your questions, and I'm going to actually take a seat here so I can get a little bit.
What? Whenever you're ready.
Hey, Charlie, who's got questions? Let me know.
William.
Okay, go ahead with the first question.
Kelvin, you're up.
Who's on?
Kelvin.
Okay.
Okay, question. Assuming you were a citizen of Germany in 1937, should we say? And you disagreed with Hitler's politics, and you knew about the final solution.
Give me 1 second, Kelvin.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, could you please start? Can you start your your question over, Kelvin?
Yeah, okay. Let's assume for a moment we go back in time and you are a citizen of Germany in, say, 1937, right? You disagree with Hitler, you never voted for him, but he is the democratically elected chancellor of your country. You know about his plans, you know about his plans for the final solution. Do you accept the democratic decision, or do you join the underground and form some kind of violent resistance?
It was known in 1934 when he first came in. And in 1937, he was already well established.
Yeah, okay, so he's a democratic elected chancellor.
Yes.
What are you going to do about it?
If it was 1934, I would have been trying to campaign against him or something like that.
No, I'm talking
Machinery and government.
1937. What are you going to do about it?
1937, I probably would have joined an underground because he'd already consolidated.
So in some circumstances, democracy does not win out.
Brian, yes. But that's because Hitler did not accept the other side that they couldn't defeat it.
Volume.
I didn't hear you reply, Tim.
Use the mic.
Unmute.
Okay, can you go ahead now?
So democracy doesn't always win out then. Not morally.
The thing is, it usually will if both sides accept the fact that if they lose,
Both sides have to
accept that democracy works.
Yeah, I think maybe somebody who was an African American might disagree with you on your analysis of 1850s.
The thing is what happened was the sides that said the other guys were basically scum, subhuman, and the democratic
Charlie's up next.
did not work.
Yeah, but you're forgetting about the huge amount of African Americans who were already just property.
I would have agreed with the Northerners quite a bit.
Of course, but what you're going to do, you're facing the same kind of situation as our hypothetical German citizen in 1937.
And we needed to do everything to stop Goebbels and all his men.
Yeah, and in the 1850s, the huge crime of slavery was still prevalent in your country. And what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to wait for the politicians to sort it out?
No, Calvin, I would have been part of the Underground Railroad. I probably would have stopped the slavery acts, and I probably would have been in Congress trying to keep the Union together.
Right.
At the time, the North held such contempt for the South, and the South contempt for the North, that democracy did stop functioning.
Yeah, and in the meantime, all of those black guys down south can just twiddle their thumbs and wait.
Calvin, I think what you're confusing is what's right now in our country, and about 1830, 1840 was when we had a genuine democracy, and had we accepted each other's sides about that time, we were okay. What I'm simply saying is that because both sides we go together with utter contempt, and I know slavery is an issue that was held with utter contempt. But you also have to remember too that in the North, a lot of those immigrant laborers.
Tim, you've gone here, yeah.
Kelvin, please hold your next question. We're going to go on to Charlie now.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm fine. Okay.
Come on up and shout it real quick.
This is William when you're ready.
Am I recognized?
Yes.
Not yet, Charlie.
Go ahead.
Let you go ahead.
My question is,
Am I recognized?
stay quiet,
Quiet, Charlie.
Why are you yelling at me?
quiet, Zoom.
You mentioned 2016 as like the current delta for when democracy started to go sideways. But what if I suggested that democracy never really functioned in this country from the beginning, and that part of the issues have gotten worse in the last 100 years. A lot of what you read about and were talked about during the Civil War, my presumption is, well, there wasn't as many people who could vote back then, but it was largely decided by wealthy people who could afford to be in Congress, and because it wasn't a high-paid position. And so decisions were made nationally by a handful of people. And like, let's assume that that's fine. Let's look to today. The last time new Congress people were, the House of Representatives was expanded in any meaningful way was 1913. The U.S. had a population of 97 million people back then. The U.S. has a population of 340 million people then. We don't have any new representatives. So how do we rectify the fact that we haven't had proper representation for the citizens of this country for over 100 years? And like, what, in your thought, do we do about that? How do we actually make even representative democracy functional when it's so much power consolidated in the hands of so few that corruption's inevitable? Like, I heard you say earlier, take money out of politics, but the reality is if there was more Congress people, those lobbyists wouldn't be able to reach as many people today.
Mike concur that we've had a functioning democracy. It is my conclusion that our representatives have represented us because we've had things happen in our country that were good. I mean, you know, you go back to the 1920s. Did you know that in 1923 that there was a terrorist bombing on Wall Street?
No.
The unions were so out of, the management was so out of control with exploiting workers that unions actually went through terrorist tactics to and have some things happen. And did you also know too that during some of the strikes, like the Pullman strike, we've had some very heavy labor practices. The thing is that democracy is messy. It takes time to make real change. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but you know, we eventually get unions in. We eventually got the Fair Labor laws in.
Well, all that stuff happened when Congress had a more representative population division, right? Like you talk, everything that you just mentioned, like I said, Congress has been expanded since.
No, it's more when the Democrats were in power and were able to enact reforms. And when Republicans were in power, they always tried to do pro-business.
Well, that's kind of part of my argument. I mean, Congress right now is deadlocked, so neither people can actually pass legitimate legislation, and it coincides directly with the fact that we're underrepresented. Like you're mentioning democracy functioning, but it functioned when there was a greater ratio of representatives to people. And like I'm not disagreeing with you. I actually agree with you. I'm asking, how do we actually go back to a place where we can legislate? Because legislation hasn't been passed in any meaningful form in 50 years, right?
I tend to differ because, you know, even after the financial crisis of 2010, they did pass the Dodd-Frank reforms. They passed some other reforms that are largely being undone now by a Republican Party that's basically an democratic organization ran under Donald Trump. The point of the matter is, Trump has done more than 2 years to undermine our democratic functioning and our political norms than he did. Now, I'm not saying democracy is perfect, because even Plato himself said, if a republic, Lincoln said, a republic. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. You're right.
So,
Franklin, I should know better.
So in the context of what you just said, I know
in the context of what I've just said, I do believe that we may be underrepresented. Maybe an increase in Congress is called for. Maybe some reforms are necessary. I don't know exactly how to address your question or how to make it in there. All I know is there's a certain nature in human beings, proclivity for evil, and we all make a choice in that thing. And democracy seems to be the best to keep those evil influences under control, at least in a democratic sort of way. And that the United States specifically was designed to try to keep those impulses under control.
All right, now we're going to move on to Charlie. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, by the way, appreciate it.
Am I
right, Charlie.
recognized?
Charlie?
I don't want to get yelled at again. I demand an apology from you, Tim.
For what? Being cutting you off because
You
you were out of
yelled
trouble?
at me. You yelled.
Come on, Charlie.
Apologize. I didn't come here to get mistreated. All right, my question is, since Trump was reelected in 24, and I've been to many, many meetings, and since 2024, I have never heard, this is the first time I've heard any mention that the blue states should succeed from the Union. So I'm wondering how valid your basic premise is. No one is calling for succession. And we've accepted the results as of 2024. Have we not?
Yes, we did. We did accept the election in 2024 because let's just say Trump won. What would have happened though had we had it go the other way?
Is anybody questioning the results of 2024?
Nobody's questioning the results of 2024. We knew it was a legitimate election, and Trump only won by a few couple percentage points in the popular vote,
Which we accept. The
Which
blue,
we accept,
blue
yes.
states accept. Don't they?
We do accept it, but the thing is, what Trump was a flint plan, man. He promised a whole bunch of different stuff than what he's delivering on now. And I can't tell you, I think anybody, Trump is a masterful, what we call carnival barker. Promises you the world and then reneges on everything that was promised.
No one has called for succession.
All right.
Nobody, Charlie, maybe nobody's called for secession, but we're actually getting what I'm saying is that the conditions now are getting to such a point that, we have concentration camps in the United States. We are starting to see mass surveillance. We're seeing enemies lists. We're seeing things that Nixon was doing a bunch of times. We're seeing corruption on a massive scale. And we're seeing that guy who wants to be a dictator.
All right, we're going to move on.
Bankrupter. He's bankrupted a number of companies. If there was a world record for a guy producing bankruptcies, I think Trump would be it. All right, go ahead. Personally, I think the midterms are going to be a trouncing for Trump and all of the Democratic Party if we can keep the elections legitimate. And if we can prevent the White House or Trump from doing something illegally or malfeasance like the passing of the Save America Act for voting, or trying to delegitimize the outcomes of correct elections, he's going to lose big. And once the Democrats start taking Congress, we're going to see impeachment proceedings, investigations. We're going to see an even, oh yeah, we might even get to see the Epstein files, all of it.
So I've got William on line that wants to ask a question. William, please go ahead.
Okay, very good. Hey, Tim, you know my great regard for you, obviously. Can we see your total T-shirt?
Yeah.
Is it prison? Oh, he's in prison? Okay, great.
Yeah,
Trump
for prison.
Okay, a lot of people, I only care about being intellectually honest and not opinions. I think you know that. Now, Tim, you said that 5 people died on January 6th, but you can't say what they died from, can you? Right now, you can't say what they died from. Correct?
No,
you don't know
exactly what they died from.
Right.
But I will tell you right now, it was the result of that riot and that violence that was a premier cause of their deaths. That's
Okay.
what.
Of
One of them
course,
may have died from stress. One of them may have died from something else. But the cause one of the primary causes of those deaths on January 6th was a direct result of the riot at the Capitol.
Yes, it was. In any case, it is incontrovertible that there were left-wing agitators and activists present, well documented. In any case, thing about a democracy. Okay, you also said 60 courts found no evidence of widespread fraud. Well, a lot of courts didn't take the cases because of lack of, to be in the right place, lack of, what's the term?
Why don't you go read a report? There's a report that was out on
jurisdiction. A lot of them were thrown out for lack of jurisdiction, and they never went into if there were fraud involved. So that's a misstatement as well. Anyway, so I'll leave it for later for comments for my. So that's pretty much. Oh, one last thing. You did
That's
say
fine.
that.
I'm sorry. I noticed your hat. So
yeah. Anyways, so you said that Trump reneged on everything. Is the border secure? Did he promise to secure the border?
He has secured the border, but now he's bringing people. I mean, he's just gone way overboard. The point you got to remember is Trump had a compromise 4 months before the election, was ready to pass in a bipartisan way. And he said, I need it for a campaign promise.
Okay,
what you don't realize is that in the late 1990s.
I don't realize. Have you found people who do as much research as me? Truly. Now, as far as that bill, in the bill, it allowed, what was it, like 75,000 people a day to come in until the border would be secured. So no, it was a horrible, flawed bill that let in even more people. That's why me and the Republicans were against it, because it did not stop people coming across the border. It legally allowed thousands and thousands of additional come in. That's why me, Trump, and Republicans were against it. End of story.
I do understand where you're coming from, because it did become a lot came in under Biden.
Right.
We do need a secure border.
And it's done.
Disagree with you there.
Okay.
I also disagree with the fact that we're having bandits from the Department of Homeland Security going out, rounding up people in the middle of the streets and deporting them without due process.
Why is that? Nope, not true.
Bullshit.
Due process.
You don't have concentration camps in the United States. You have people deported with due process. Obama did it with a record. He had a record number of deportees, but they were all done through due process.
Meaning
the point of the matter is
you're arguing. You're getting upset. In any case,
I'm very.
Let's keep it civil.
The point of the matter is that I understand where you're coming from, but we need secure borders. We also need a Department of Homeland Security. Everybody should be vetted coming in. However, I also know too that the
process
in the United States has been one of our best. Has been one of our best and foremost features of the world. We got immigrants in the 1850s.
You're garbled, Tim. In any case, due process was done by way of immigration courts, and they already had a order to be removed. They already had removal orders. So you want something additional beyond that, like a warrant. But no, that's not how it works. And all the people who deported under Obama had these orders of removal. They didn't go through a court. So anyways, they did go through due process in the immigration system. So there you go.
Well, thank you for your question.
If you were so concerned about the immigration system, why didn't Trump just hire more judges to get rid of the backlog instead of firing the ones that were already there?
Well, a lot of them, I can't tell you. But I'd say things are a lot better now than they were before.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
I'll tell you something right now.
Yeah.
You can't even get into the United States. Our tourism's way down because of it.
The United States? Really?
It's way down in the United States. Look at it.
Yeah, people don't want to
Look
come
at the
here.
numbers.
Yes, that doesn't mean you can't get in. Maybe people don't want to because they don't like Americans and it's bad on tourism and we're losing that money. But to say
It's now when you go in, they got to look over your social media contacts. They got to do all kinds of stuff. And people don't want to apply for a visa
Right.
because of the new restrictions.
Okay,
right,
William, thank you for your question.
I
We're going to move
understand.
on to
We'll get into this.
Kelvin.
You're going to get a full chance to get a good rebuttal in because I'm really anxious to hear it. And, you know, I want to respect you for coming today, okay?
okay,
And I really appreciate your comments. I know it gets kind of heated, but what I'm simply saying is I'm actually trying to live what I'm talking about in a speech. You have some very legitimate views, but I just think Trump is a rat fink and he's
yeah,
too corrupt.
Okay,
I only care about his policies.
okay, thank you, William. We're going to move on to
Can I just have a quick one? I just have a quick one to William, please?
Okay,
I want a quick question. William, would you be happy for the same criteria that ICE use to detain American citizens without warrants, without judicial warrants? Would you be as happy for those same criteria to be used on anybody that was named in the Epstein files? We put them in a prison for 6 months and then we sort it out later.
That's nonsense.
Really? So there's been no US citizens unlawfully detained at all by ICE?
Unlawfully detained? Probably not. Because
do you know that the detention centers have 2 sections,
you like
one
to
for
talk,
citizens
but
and one for non-citizens?
You like to talk, but you don't like to listen. You like to talk, but you don't like to listen.
William,
Go on,
it's difficult for us to decipher what is being said when both are talking at the same time.
That's right, because he likes to talk, but he doesn't want to listen.
Okay.
Well, when you say something absolutely false, I have to interject.
Okay, so let's move on.
Okay, who's got another question?
Russell.
All right.
You said there never been concentration camps. How about Roosevelt's concentration camps?
With the Japanese? Yes, there were.
Well, Germany, and the Chinese.
What we did during the Japanese occupation, what we did to the Japanese American citizens in World War II was also wrong. We've also acknowledged it. We've also, in some sense, paid some compensation to them over time. We can't erase that part of our American history. It happened. The point of the matter is we cannot let it happen again. And it's starting to do so. First, it's going to be the immigrants. Then it's going to be the disabled. Then it's going to be somebody else. And then it's going to be the complex is shut down. But that's how they need a scapegoat. Scapegoat.
Sometimes
you might be about getting hypocritical, but I'll tell you, I'm very usually when I talk to a Trump supporter, I usually just listen. And then if they get into it, we go back and forth, usually with a dialogue. When I'm like this more, I'm trying to tell you, the man, Trump, is a skunk. I don't want to get more into that than that, but he's not fit. He's not fit to be president. And I believe he's starting to get dementia. As much as he talked about fighting, which I may have shown shy signs of it, but Trump is also just as bad, if not much worse. I think we should invoke the 25th Amendment on him immediately, as far as I'm concerned.
The 25th Amendment, you cannot invoke it. You can't invoke.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I think that House of Representatives too, if I remember correctly.
And our whole government, the filthy 500, they're always going to do what they want. think is in their best interest. You're not gonna put the national interest ahead of them.
The 5,500
Yeah.
Congress.
Learn your.
Okay.
Really,
Run,
failure in democracy.
tell them how many, tell me how many representatives,
535, I think, right?
but how many were in there 1920? What did you tell me? 700,000 per?
No, a house district is 700,000. A member of parliament is 70,000.
In England.
England, yeah.
That's-
Some countries are smaller, like 50.
Okay.
Yes or no?
Question.
Harrison.
The 1856 election, I think Lincoln ran. And any
The only one that I can possibly think of that was contested and taken the court was in 2000 with Bush versus Gore. If you remember that one, they took it to the Supreme Court, but Gore also dropped the case before the actual count was done.
He conceded.
Because he lost.
Are the other comparisons you can make with that? Lincoln ran at that time, right?
No, Lincoln ran in 1860.
Yes. Yeah, you right, Ray?
Yes. No, it was 1860 that Lincoln ran.
Okay, take that back.
Okay.
Sometimes it gets, we're talking things that a lot of people don't understand. And if any of you get a chance to get down to Springfield, Illinois, and go to the Lincoln Museum, it's always a road trip worthwhile. Because Lincoln was not a popular president. He was vilified in the political tones. He tons of things. And it was just incredible to see.
I prefer the little guy.
Douglas?
Power, it's on this.
It's also okay. Go ahead.
Oh, by the way, they have great train stations in Springfield, Illinois, active ones. Tim, are the reasons for Trump's wars and distractions all because of Epstein information coming out more and more?
No, the only reason I think Trump's
So
going to
I
war
missed that joke.
because I think he just likes power. He just likes being the strong man, and going along with Netanyahu he was able to gain more power. He had
Which I agreed with, which is fine. Not a coup d'etat. Power didn't change.
I mean, he had that
He arrested the guy.
perception of a president, and the
He's Colombian, by the way.
vice president, who probably laughs behind his back. He had that. He also had
But all this other stuff is a distraction so that it takes people's minds off of the Epstein.
that might be a good part of it too. I just don't know what Trump's psyche is. I just know he's to stay in power.
Yeah.
Wants to make this country a dictatorship under Trump.
And he wants wars.
Following Project 2025 to the letter.
And he
Almost.
wants wars.
Right.
He wants wars until
Okay.
All right. Do we have any other questions online?
Go ahead,
Right, we have
Karina.
one here.
If Trump died in office, then we'd have JD Vance.
So for those online that didn't hear, the question that was asked was, what would happen with the war if Trump were to pass away while in office?
JD Vance. To be honest with you, I think JD Vance has been such a flim-flam man, and if because figure out what would happen if he was in charge. I see Vance moderating the Republican Party on the one hand, or continuing to send Trump policies to utter failure. It's going to be true capitulating and Democrats and maybe get things better when he his back's against the wall. Yeah, come on. Yeah,
If you can come up here.
come on up here and sit down with the microphone.
Yeah. All right, perfect. So I need to mute it because I can't think if I'm hearing myself.
That's all right. Just get down for a little bit. Go ahead.
So
You're good.
all right. So I wonder. I think it's pretty simple what happens if Donald Trump dies in office.
Quiet.
I actually don't know if it's going to be a better situation than what we have. I have optimism, like you do, about where we're going to go in a political stance, because I think people can only be angry for so long before they start to recognize what's happening. Right now, we're at the heated peak of 40 years of propaganda, lack of enforcing antitrust laws. So now media monopolies, a handful of people control the entire message for the entire population. And we have propaganda parading as news networks now. But that can only go so long. And I think Donald Trump is such a crystallization of bullshit. I don't know if that's allowed here. Such a crystallization of
call it male bovine fecal matter.
Male bovine fecal matter, that if J.D. Vance came to power, like you, I hope that we see the midterms create an overwhelming transition in as much as it can towards Democrats and hopefully towards democracy. But if J.D. Vance takes power, he's going to look like a sheep in wolf's clothing. He's smart enough and young enough to look competent, to sound presidential, but he's going to continue the agenda that Donald Trump is. Donald Trump's a loud, angry voice for corrupt political and financial interests, business, corporatocracy, kleptocracy, whatever you want to call it. J.D. Vance is going to play that card, and the damage is going to be done to an even greater degree to our country, because it's going to be like what's been slowly building over the decades. It's not going to be noticed, right? Donald Trump's emboldened a specific population of the country through populism and made it okay to say terrible things out loud, and he hasn't been held accountable for anything. Like, I want a world where he does, of course, but I think him dying allows the Republican Party to sweep his thing under the rug and say, look, he's gone, guys, we're going to unite the country again. Meanwhile, they're going to actually be continuing their agenda with a smarter, less weird person at the helm. So I'm terrified if something like that happens, because J.D. Vance is going to still push the same agenda. The Trump administration is going to do it, and it's going to look so much better that the Democrats aren't going to realize what's happening, and they're going to continue to have this 50-50 split in Congress.
Don't forget, we also have Richard Volk in the Office of Management and Budget. You got
who?
Cabinet Project 2025. I think that Trump is still being manipulated with the plan.
Yes.
There's a lot of who is Richard
reverberation on the sound coming through Zoom.
Give me 1 second.
But anyway, you know, thank you.
All right, Jake, you got your hand up?
Jake, you unmute.
Jake?
Who is Richard Pope?
Who is Richard Pope?
Jake, yeah.
Yeah, who is Richard Pope?
Office of Management and Budget in Congress, and in the Office of Management and Budget in the
budget. Trump administration. So why is he worse? So why is he worse than Trump?
Because Richard Volk was the author of several key chapters of Project 2025. And what Congress should do, and how they can rescind funds, how they can take the federal budget and use it as a tool of harassment. We never heard really of congressional rescindments until Trump came in power. I mean, there was at times. I mean, look at what happened with the Office of the United States Department of Peace. Look what happened to the Radio Liberty, the Voice of America. Probably our most effective ways of projecting soft power around the world.
Yeah.
He just everything, including our foreign aid, which basically helped the world, keep it.
And look
at this guy.
Kennedy story. To the National Institute of Health. Our standards in the United States are going down. Our word is getting lost around the world. The rest of the world is laughing at us because
of Donald Trump.
Say again, what? I couldn't hear you.
Take a look at Carney in Canada.
Yeah.
He's somebody that I would love to have been our president of the United States. No. Well, anyway. All right. Let's.
Do we have any other questions here in the room?
Got one left.
All right, come on up.
I'd like to get this going to rebuttals if we can, because I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit.
True or false?
Go ahead.
My understanding of the economics of slavery is, where's Calvin? There he is.
Calvin's there.
Europe, like the Dutch and the English, and all those folks that came over here.
Yeah, okay.
Had a very good.
But my question is, it's
circle. Hold on. I had a very good circle of manipulation and economics where British, Dutch, Spanish, others, boats would go to Africa. African warlords would go capture Africans and Africans, bring them to the boat, sell them to the Europeans. Europeans would have a boat full of Africans come over here, or the Caribbean, sell the Africans here, pick up tobacco, sugar, cotton in America with those boats, fill up them boats, go back to Europe, unload it there, make money. They made every port they made money at. And so I don't think it was like white people like me, you are
totally right up to a point, up to about 1830, and then the British government, having banned slavery in its empire, also banned any trading of slavery on the Atlantic, and the British Navy would attack and try and take any slave ship that headed towards the Americas. Meanwhile, America kept slavery until the Civil War.
What does this have to do with Donald Trump?
Well, you got here late. Well,
you got here late. That's what happened, Jake.
The conflation was between.
All right.
My question is Tim, that was I'll just answer that guy. Tim, right? We were talking about the war in Iran at the moment. Do you think there is any coincidence between the fact that Donald Trump received a $400 million big, shiny, beautiful aeroplane from Qatar, and that his son-in-law Jared Kushner received $2 billion investment into his fledgling investment company, even though he had no experience in that kind of investment whatsoever? And do you think it's also coincidental that the said Jared Kushner, who has just been made special peace envoy by Trump, is traveling out to Saudi Arabia and is asking for a further $2 billion for his investment company? Do you think there's anything in that? It might be connected with the fact that America is bombing one of the Saudi and Qatar's biggest enemies?
I think the Arabs were heavily investing in Trump, expecting a quid pro quo that Trump would protect them. And he all of a sudden,
and just a supplement, do you think it's just coincidental the lifting of sanctions on the Putin regime has resulted in him not trying to sell his oil at $40 a barrel, and now can get on an unrestricted market $120 a barrel. Do you think that might be coincidental as well?
I think Trump's stupid. I think he saw the high oil prices, saw the oil glut with the Soviets and Iran, and he just says, "Well, we'll just let them sell their oil so we can get the price down." That's how he.
Yeah. And the fact that his friendship with Vladimir Putin is just coincidental.
No, Vladimir Putin and him get along quite well. I think he admires Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping for the control they have on their countries. And I think Trump is aspiring to be that, but he can't.
It has nothing to do with the loan money you got to pay them out of bankruptcy from the
thing is, I think what's happening is every Arab country that gave Trump money is now being thrown under the bus by Trump because of what's going on with the war in Iran, blasting them with missiles right now and getting their infrastructure destroyed.
Is this
anyway? We got one more from Charlie.
Yes, I'd like to know. Let me get myself. I'd like to know, are the same people who support Trump the same as the people who supported slavery?
Okay.
No.
Are they the same?
Well, Charlie,
are Trump supporters the same as slavers?
Of course not. Slavery doesn't exist now, so how could they be the same people?
Are their intellects the same? Is their ethics the same?
That's a good question, Charlie, because, if I was to say yes, I could make a good case for it. If I was to say no, I could make a good case for it. The mentality in the South was that the black man needed to be subjugated and was a piece of labor that was cheap, that they could keep their lifestyles going. And they had something called the co-duello between each of the plantation owners. The South was more... Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, aren't the same locations of the United States that support Trump the same as the places that supported slavery?
Except the Republicans. Democrats are the party of racism.
Who's that? Tim is answering.
Helping out.
I think so. All right, gentlemen, I think it's time that Charlie, I'm not going to get hit with this gotcha question because we all know that the states that supported slavery, most of them are the same that supported Trump. And, in a lot of cases, we've addressed this before. There are people that support Trump. They say, my God, make great America again. We've solved our border problem. But he's broken almost every other promise in the book. Prices are up, oil's up. He's more concerned about his ballroom than anything else. Anyway, we could get into it a lot more often. I'm now interested in hearing from you guys and the rebuttals right now. So I'm going to let Chris take over at this point. And thank you guys very much for letting me speak, and I'll bring in the last word. Go ahead, sir.
So I want to thank everyone for their questions, and of course, thank Tim for his wonderful presentation. We're going to open the floor to rebuttal. Do we have any rebuttal? I'm trying to get a head count before we get into it.
Anybody rebut here?
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand if you want to rebut. Gentlemen.
Okay.
William, please.
Charlie. I got you, William.
Okay.
I got two online. Hey, we're going to leave any rebuttals?
Well, we'll give, it's about, we'll give them about 5 minutes apiece. I think be good.
Right, we're going to limit the rebuttal to 5 minutes.
Rebuttal 101.
I'm going to get the time. Okay. You can't see me, but we're going to have, I'm going to get hand signals and.
What is all this technology? This is
It's not working yet.
That's not working. That's working. That mic's working. Speakers.
We can hear you at home, Tim. We can hear you at home.
I can hear you loud and clear, Ernie.
Good. I don't know what it was mumbly before, but it's good now.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, and I'll give you hand signals to let you know how much time you have.
5. Whoa.
And I'll do the same for my components, but I'll put in the chat how much time you have.
Why don't you have another chair here?
Well, he was sitting down there.
Somebody's gonna knock everything over.
Are you ready to go?
Hold on, let me get the
You gotta lift the corner up.
this.
Yeah.
Slide it out. Slide it across.
Hold on, I want to see what I'm doing here. Yeah, this thing would have tipped over. I would have tipped it over. Okay, that's a little more secure.
When you introduce yourself, I'll start your clock.
Hi, you can call me Mike. All right. That is a Make America Great Again cap. Okay, so Tim, the thesis here was that we're repeating pre-slavery again in the political thought, in the political theater. And so I'm not an expert on that Civil War stuff or pre-Civil War. I think there's been bad information about slavery. And Clarence, or not Clarence, Calvin, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Calvin, I think you sidestepped my question about Europe's complicity in the
can I just give you, Mike? Can I just give you a very brief
tobacco?
Can I just give you
trade,
Mike? Can I just give you? Can I just answer? I know.
Well, you know what?
I just say something very
briefly. Time out. We didn't hear the first half. We didn't have the speakers on. So whatever your explanation, we didn't hear your first half of the explanation.
Well, okay. Can I just preface it right? I'm talking now from Liverpool. Now, to bring that into the slavery context, Liverpool, more slave ships left Liverpool than any other port in England combined. Right? Liverpool was founded on the slave trade. So, and not only that, right? And that was up until the slavery was banned, and I think it was just before 1830. It might be in 1830. But how does that relate to me? Unlike a lot of places in your country, we don't airbrush history. I was taught this at school. There is a maritime museum in the centre of Liverpool which has a whole floor dedicated to the slave trade. We're not ignorant of what happened.
Years. Huh?
We are not ignorant of what happened.
You are in Britain?
No, we are not. It's taught at school.
Oh, God. I hear it would be airbrushed.
Yeah, well, it's taught at school. There's a whole exhibit in the Maritime Museum in Liverpool dedicated to Liverpool's role in the slave trade.
Well, and
we learn about this, and we learn from it.
Good. 2 minutes for me. 2? Okay. Anyway, we'll get it. Okay, that kind of solves that. Are you happy with that explanation, Ernie? All right. Okay, so now when it comes to Trump,
you asking me?
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Okay, now, when it comes to Trump and MAGA, I think they've gotten a bad reputation, and well deserved. I mean, I agree with a couple things Trump does. Get arrested that dude in Venezuela. You should have stopped there with the war stuff. However, I think most people see America as a shit show right now. These wars, the things that were immediately loses me about Trump, and it's the first thing he does when he gets elected. He gives away $5 trillion to the super rich, or cuts the
super rich's taxes by 5 trillion. And that's supposed to trickle down to us. It doesn't. Trickle down economics never works. Well, so I think what people here in America are thinking, what's a shit show with Trump and pedophilia and criminal and felon and kickbacks and corruption and all this chaos and distraction by Trump and 2025. What's it called? The 2025 Club? 30?
Project.
What is it? Project 25 that controls Trump. They just see that as a bunch of, super right wing, and they're just waiting for all that to end. So hopefully in midterms, we'll get some better changes and outcomes.
Thank you for your vote. I'll get Charlie online, and then we'll get someone here in the room. Charlie, you like my civil.
All right, Charlie.
Okay, I just want to thank our speaker for generating the discussion and for Chris for helping out. You guys are doing a good job. I don't have much to say, except for the fact that in 1850's 48, there was a Dred Scott decision at the court in St. Louis. And what happened was Dred Scott went from the slavery escaped into the North. And what the court said was that he is not free and that he could be apprehended and set back on the plantation. There's some illusion that, but basically, slavery in effect extended across the entire United States, and you could apprehend a black person anywhere in the North. And guys did this, and then they'd bring him back to the plantation they came from in the South. Now, what happened with Trump is he did pretty much the same thing. He said, we got these illegal immigrants. And he even set up his own police force. He never had anything like this before. A police force under the direct control of the President of the United States, like a military, armed and with arrest authority. And he said, you have free to go out and arrest anyone immigrant in the United States. Doesn't matter where they are or what have you. You can go out and apprehend them. What I'm saying is the comparison between 1850s and right now is very valid. Yes, he is apprehending people across the nation. And what endangers us is any one of us, that's you and me, anybody in this room or online, could be apprehended by the president's police force. And yes, this is very dangerous. And in comparison to that, they're doing now. That's what I mean. Even in the South, the government didn't go out and start apprehending slaves, much to their credit. However, Trump has gone one step further. And so this is like a new Dred Scott decision, only the parties this time are alleged illegal immigrants. People who have come here just trying to provide for their own, and yet they're arrested on what I don't believe to be criminal charges. Certainly not sufficient to merit deportation from the United States. The United States does not, we realize that the United States does not deport its own citizens. No matter what you do, the United States will not deport you to another country. But we have so little regard that, all right, thank you very much then. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Okay, I've also got William online. Hey, William.
Okay, anyways, you're ready, right? Yes?
We're ready.
Okay, Charlie, that is so nuts. There is not a new police force. There's immigration enforcement and the Border Patrol. They've been set up way years before Trump ever came on the scene. So that's just a crazy thing to say. Kelvin, you just don't know enough to ask questions. As far as you're talking about American citizens being detained and arrested by the Border Patrol and ICE, they're law enforcement officials. Yes, they can legally detain American citizens if they are impeding or breaking the law. So that's a silly thing to say.
Without a judicial warrant. Without a judicial warrant. William, I've put on chat, there is about 170 cases of American citizens being detained by ICE.
Yes,
this is by the have a look on chat and get back to me again, my friend.
Please let me finish your vote.
Do I get another minute for that?
Yes.
We'll extend your time.
Thank you. Like I said, Kelvin doesn't know enough to answer questions or to ask them. They're law enforcement officials. They will enforce the law. If an American citizen is breaking the law, they will enforce it and be detained and arrested. End of story. Okay.
Can you tell me what law that 5-year-old broke?
Before we go any further, I want to remind everyone, we're not here to make personal attacks at one another.
I don't even know what he says, but if he wants to ask the question on his time,
can you tell me what law that 5-year-old broke?
Okay, let's.
Wants to help. You want to go to Kelvin? Please go to Kelvin. I'll give him my time.
Right. Well, if you just look on chat, I put what ProPublica said about the 170 American citizens that have been detained by ICE. ICE are an arm of law enforcement, and as any law enforcement arm, whether it be the beat cop, an FBI agent, a drug enforcement agent, anybody, you have to have a judicial warrant to detain somebody. You cannot say you're next without reasonable suspicion of a crime being committed. Protesting against an arrest is not a crime. If so, everybody in Jan 6 protesting, if protesting was a crime, every single one of those January 6 protesters should still be in jail. If you're protesting against an act is not a crime. You have a First Amendment right to do so. You also have a Fourth Amendment right not to be detained without a judicial warrant. And there is a case of 170 detainees. That's in just 2025. So much so that ICE have separate rooms for American citizens as opposed to those who just haven't got their documents.
Yeah, Kelvin, we're gonna let.
Okay, yes. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna give William 2 minutes to rebut to that. To what Kelvin just had to add.
Oh, hell. I would like to rebut on my time for what I wanted to rather than. Anyways, Kelvin just doesn't know what he's talking about. They're law enforcement officers. And when the police come to detain somebody on a traffic stop or committing a crime, do they have a judicial warrant? No. Why don't they need a judicial warrant? Because they are observed doing criminal activity. So as law enforcement officials, they will arrest or detain American citizens for breaking the law. Okay.
Is protesting against the law then?
Kelvin, please finish. Good. Kelvin, you keep interrupting him. I know it's a heated topic, but let him speak, please. Go ahead. Well,
William.
Please, William, finish.
And please refrain from attacking one another.
Refrain from what?
Two in one pool at a time.
Okay, geez. Okay.
We'd like to hear from you, sir.
2 minutes later.
We can let you come back after we take a look.
Once we get through everybody, we can let you collect your thoughts. All right. So next we have Ernie. And then we've got Jake, and then we'll come back to you, William.
Yeah.
Am I on? This is Ernie. Is it my turn? This is Ernie.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm assuming this is my turn. Tim, first a message to you. I hope you will put this talk up soon. I just got on recently because I was visiting cemeteries and elephants with some of our mutual friends, and it got me here late. But I do want to hear your whole talk, and so I hope you put it up. Although I have a sense of what the talk was about, my rebuttal basically, well, first of all, I would point out, and Kelvin can give us something more specific, that the Brits outlawed slavery in Britain. I don't know when, probably in the 1700s, and they outlawed it in the colonies in sometime in the 1830s. So it was long gone. We had slavery another 30 years after.
I think it was 1798 in the UK, in Britain, and 1830 by the time it was finally outlawed in the empire.
In the colony. That's great. Okay, that's what I wanted to say, and that's why some people say that the slaves would have been better off had the Brits won the Revolutionary War. But in any case, all I want to do today is I have a sense that there's a lot to do with Trump in this talk, and I want to repeat, if I've given my Helsinki theory to other groups, and it's very brief. I'll give it here because I think until somebody comes up with some evidence that it's wrong, I will continue to mention it. And my Helsinki theory is that in Trump's first term, when he and Putin met in Helsinki, they met alone with only two interpreters. Nobody knows what they actually said. I think that they made a deal, and I think the deal was very simple. Trump and the United States gets the Western Hemisphere. Putin gets Europe. They probably, even though she wasn't in the meeting, they probably said she gets Asia, and that's it. This explains why Trump is not enthusiastic about helping Ukraine. He's very enthusiastic about helping Israel. He's giving more help to Israel than if they were our 51st state. And so I think maybe one of the things that was or was not discussed at that Helsinki meeting is what happens to the Middle East and what happens to Israel. And so I don't know. Anyway, I would look forward to seeing that talk if you'll put it up, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. Okay, we're going to move on to Jake now.
Thank you for your talk. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's more. We could be on the brink of a civil war. We got a president in office who doesn't act like the president. He acts like someone who's out to screw over the Constitution and screw over the rule of law so that he can do it. Oh, I know what I was going to say. He's a hypocrite when it comes to the illegal immigration. His talk about stopping illegal immigration. He's a hypocrite because as a businessman, I was told that he hired a tremendous number of illegal immigrants himself. Do as I say, not as I do, right? Yeah, he has no respect. He's the only president who we've ever had who has practically no respect at all for the Constitution. He makes up the rules as he goes along. He makes Richard Nixon look like a saint by comparison. Nixon, at the height of Watergate, knew that he could see the writing on the wall, so he resigned before he resigned before he had a chance for that. He resigned before he had a chance to be impeached, I should say. So, in Trump's case, he doesn't care if he's impeached. He's out to do whatever he wants to do. It's all about him. And, he feels he can get away with anything. So, okay, anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, the war in Iran, I think, is a big distraction. He's trying to distract from the economy, but it's backfiring because it's raising gas and oil prices in the process. So, all right, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Jake. Let's see. Do we have anybody else here in the room?
I don't think so. We want to let,
Okay, so that being said, William, we're going to give you 3 minutes total to finish your rebuttal. Please remember that we disregard personal attack. So keep it more centralized to a group or just a theory.
Iran, as far as that goes, it had to be dealt with eventually. Don't forget, they chant continuously death to America. Those Khobar towers, they Beirut. Americans were killed in Israel by Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah. Also, what a lot of people don't realize is about 10% of the Americans killed in Iraq were by Iranian improvised explosive devices, the roadside bombs. So about 400 Americans in that war was killed by Iran. They had to be dealt with eventually. So it's a matter of how you do it and the timing. Here's another misnomer. People saying about illegal wars, whatever, that only Congress can declare war. Yeah, only Congress can declare war. Doesn't mean presidents can't make war, as they have in Korea, Vietnam, Mayaguez, Grenada, El Salvador, Afghan, Iraq. Most problems are caused by not following the Constitution. I'd really like to hear from somebody who can specify how Trump has not abided by the Constitution. By the way, remember, we are a republic, not a democracy. Why are we not a democracy? Because mob rule is democracy. Also, Tim said that the Supreme Court, let's see, Al Gore conceded the election in Florida. Well, actually, the Supreme Court, they intervened because Gore, he only wanted to recount like Miami-Dade County and certain counties and not the whole state. So the Supreme Court stepped in and said, no, you got to count the whole state. And then he conceded. So it's not like he did some altruistic, nice thing on that. Okay, Trump, yeah, he's a cheater, a liar, a braggart, exaggerator, undisciplined. He's a horrible, horrible person. It was a binary election. What was the choice? We saw what Biden did. Well, excuse me, that's not true. What the auto pen and his advisors and other people did, we didn't want him and we didn't want Kamala. So it was a binary choice. Yeah, Trump's a horrible person. Agree. But we don't care about him. We care about the policies of which we think have been a net benefit to America. Tariffs, yeah, stupid against him. Tim, you got to know I'm intellectually honest. I don't care about the person. I care about issues and the truth. And the stupidest thing to say is that you need a warrant to arrest somebody. And they weren't just protesters. Oh, my goodness. People obstructing, getting in the way, breaking the law. Yeah, you arrest them, you detain them, even if they're American citizens. Isn't that a novel concept that police don't need a warrant to arrest somebody? Or did you miss that? Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, William. And that concludes your time.
Okay.
Do we have any other rebuttals that anyone would like to share before we close out?
All right, I'll give my final thought. All I'm going to say tonight is that there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions. And what I'm hoping that this will accomplish tonight is that we can get along and that we can respect each other's differences and that we move forward with some real clear policies. William, I think personally that Biden did a really good job cleaning up Trump's mess. The mere fact that he called the renewables a scam is beyond belief. It's going to be an integral part of the transitional energy future. And if you really want to know what I think about the renewables, they're only going to be a part of something. What's really going to happen is something called the thorium molten salt reactor that China's doing right now. See, we can agree on something. William, have you heard of the Thorium Energy Alliance out of Harvard, Illinois?
No, new for me, but I know your advocacy for that, and I agree.
Yeah, take a look at that because I've given lectures on it numerous times and how that's going to be the one technology that China's actually doing right now because they stole all of our research from Oak Ridge and are developing it in situ right now. They've got a thorium reactor running in the Gobi Desert that's already been refueled once. And, like I said, there's a lot of things. We already found a point of agreement already. So, respecting the other side does have its benefits. Anyway, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. And William, I'd like to, again, appreciate you coming in because we do need a few more pro-Trump people here to help defend the things. I'm trying to get a speaker now in Crystal Lake who owns a Trump store out there. She was railroaded out of Huntley by a bunch of Democrats because she had a big blow up of Trump in front of her store, and they were citing her for local ordinances. And it's a good story about local business discrimination.
Yeah.
Even though it is pro-Trump, it might make for a good story here and tell about how sometimes local officials can get a little bit crazy. Anyway, with that, thank all of you for coming tonight. And yes, I don't like Trump. I've made my feelings clear. But at the same time, we do respect other people. William, thanks again for coming. Kelvin, really appreciate you coming. I hope you're ready to go. Ernie, thanks again for showing up. Charlie, as always, they're Norma too, the same thing. And with that, I'd like to say the college is closed. Please stop the recording. Okay, we're going